What are you drinking? Milk?
No, it's some of it is milk with a lot of vitamins. I didn't feel like eating any solid food.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Endure, something like that. And every once in a while I don't eat a meal, I just eat fruit.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's jump to another.
Another country.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to revisit Amsterdam.
Well, Netherlands again.
Netherlands. I don't know it very well because we lived in The Hague. But, you know, it's like the Germans call it a cat sleep. From The Hague to Amsterdam. I remember working in West Germany, and it's very close to the Dutch border. In fact, they talk what they call Plattdeutsch, which is very similar to Dutch. And we were going to one of the islands in the north, on the north coast. The director of this school, called the Moreno School, in, what's the name of the town in West Germany? It'll come to me. Anyway, the school arranged for the children to go to the north of Holland and live in a community, learn to live with each other. The name of the city where I worked is Gummersbach, where the Moreno School is. And we drove by car. And in Germany, you can go as fast as you want to, or did at that time. And as soon as you got to the Dutch border, I was astonished because you didn't have to go through the usual nonsense we had to when we were young. Customs at the border, nothing, just a sign that you're in the Netherlands. 55 kilometers was the top speed. And I said to my friend Hugo, I'm not surprised that the Dutch put the speed at 55 kilometers per hour. He said, why? I said, well, if you went any faster, you'd be out of it in 2 minutes. It's so small.
Well.
Then Belgium. In fact, it was when I was at a drug treatment. They call it a drugless drug treatment program, a conference. And while I was there, I was invited to go to Italy and to Belgium. Oh no, the conference went to Belgium too. And they spoke Flemish, which touched my heart because my mother spoke Flemish. She was born in Antwerp. And so I felt at home there because I heard the same kind of speech, which is not as guttural as Dutch or German, but is still a Germanic language. And they took us to various villages, daytop villages, which are places where they have these communities for drug addicts, drugless programs. And two of the young men came from one of the villages to drive me to another one over in the northeastern part of Holland, which I'd never been to before, and I don't even remember what part it is. And they asked me, was I a director of what they call daytop village? And I said no. And they didn't know why I was invited, because they were only used to greeting and meeting people from the daytop village groups.
Mm-hmm.
And it was while I was there that I was invited to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
To work in Italy.
Well, it's number 14 in our list.
And I loved Italy. I love the spirit of the people. And these young people were really, it was really tough for them to learn to live in this communal way and without drugs. And that's where I did the story about I left an empty, I had an empty chair and I told them there was a syringe on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was empty, it wasn't there. But when they came, when the young man got up and stood in front of that chair, he shook, literally shook with anticipation. And so did the others. Just thinking of the stuff. And then I told him, what do you need to do in this situation? And he said, I'll be the syringe. Fine, very good. And the syringe spoke to him. I couldn't have done it better myself. The only power I have over you is the power you give me. And I thought, they've learned something in this place. But the Italian people are really special. They can talk and talk and talk and talk and say nothing. And that's what the adults did in Sakharov. I asked them to pick, they came as a group, businessmen, hardcore businessmen. And I said, you have invited me, now what do you want from me? He said, well, what do you want us to do? I said, I want you to pick someone, but it was a tight group, you know. I think that was a problem too. They knew each other from business. And I said, I want you to talk about what problems you have in your family. Well, they talked and talked and talked and talked and talked, but I couldn't understand them. But I knew from what was going on that they weren't saying anything meaningful. And that was the only group I met in Italy where that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because businessmen are anti-psychology. So why did they invite me? I don't know. But they paid me nicely, so I didn't give a darn. Very funny.